Afternoon, everybody. We'll get started in just a moment. Just going to give people time to join in. Okay, well, we're a minute past. We have a very healthy group of people here, which is great to see. We're excited about today's topic. So, good afternoon. Thanks so much for being with us today. We're really pleased to have you here, and I'm excited to be talking with you today about some best practices for billing in your optometry practice. We all know the complexities and frustrations that come along with dealing with insurance, but it isn't necessarily evil, right? And so we hope today makes this a little easier for you. I'm joined today by Kelli Trentacosti, who is an expert on revenue cycle management and billing with over 30 years of experience. So she's really the one you want to hear from today. So, Kelli, with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Well, thanks, Dan. Appreciate it. Really happy to be here and having everybody join today. We understand what busy schedules you have, so appreciate it. We'll try to keep this to 30 minutes and take any questions at the end, certainly that we can. Again, I'm Kelli Trentacosti. I have worked with Revolution EHR for about 10 years now and worked with many, many different offices and practices on keeping their billing healthy and in good status. Prior to my life here, I have spent about 30 years in revenue cycle management. So we have a short agenda today in the 30 minutes. So we're going to review some best practices to ensure efficient billing in 2024 for your practice. We're going to talk a little bit about best practice benchmarks and matrix, how to avoid common billing mistakes, streamlining your billing functionality within your office. And at the end, we're going to talk about how Revolution EHR can assist with all the billing needs that you might have in your practice. So I always like to get started on these webinars with just launching a quick poll, just so that I can capture our audience and kind of where you fall. So you will see a poll question if you could take a few minutes just to answer that. And the question here is, our practice feels we have strong billing processes in place. If you could just answer that with you either strongly agree, you somewhat agree, or you feel it's really an area that you can improve in 2024. We'll just give everybody just a couple of minutes to answer that. Okay, good. Looks like we're getting some good participation here. A couple more seconds and we can close this out. Okay, perfect. Looks like we've got about 90% participation. Thank you so much for answering that. And it looks like we've got a lot of folks on the call today who feel like billing is an area that you can improve on in 2024. So you came to the right place today. So we're talking about billing best practices. And some of this is going to, be pretty standard, but these are things that we need to reiterate, especially now that we're into the new year. We want to make sure that we are verifying, have a very robust insurance verification process in place, and make sure that you're using that scanning integration with Revolution and scanning the front and back of those insurance cards and keeping those on file. The other thing I would point out to you is to make sure that you have a good process in place where you're checking your non-verified insurance reports prior to patient's arrival. And obviously you can run those out same day when you get in. You can even run those reports out, so everybody that you have scheduled, maybe from now to the end of the week, even next week, you can keep checking to make sure that all of those benefits have been verified. And I would also tell you, as you're verifying benefits, one of the things that we want to really be looking for here is to find, that you might have vision outliers within folks' medical benefits. And that's really an important component to identify as patients are coming in, because that helps us later on in the sales process as we're looking at frames or lenses and that kind of thing. So make sure that when we're verifying benefits, patients could have vision outliers within their medical benefits that they're not even aware of. And then communicate out-of-pocket expenses with patients and securing payments upfront. Everybody wants to know how much they owe when they come in to have their eye exams and those other type of things done. So make sure that we are communicating those out-of-pocket expenses and that we have a solid financial policy. We want people to know that this is your estimated amount that you're going to owe for the services today. Make sure we're collecting that up front. We're not carrying that into an accounts receivable later on. That certainly makes things much more complicated to collect after the patient is gone. And we're carrying money on the books that we really don't need to. So a really robust financial policy, robust communication with our patients, making sure they understand what the expectation is for collecting that money up front. Another key component here is having a comprehensive understanding of the payer guidelines as they are related to billing and reimbursement of the rendered services that we are doing. So, specifically with those medical benefits, making sure that we understand what Blue Cross Blue Shield is going to pay, what Medicare pays, what Aetna, United Healthcare, any of those that we are billing, as well as your vision payers, making sure we understand the guidelines for that. They change routinely. So if you don't if you're not scheduled for updates, automatic updates, make sure that you're enrolling with your payers to get those. You'll get those right through email blasts and that type of thing. Monitoring your clearinghouse and payer rejections immediately. This is really, really important. If we know that we are exporting, for example, 50 claims to our clearinghouse, we want to make sure that after we do that export, we are going into our clearinghouse and making sure that the payer has actually accepted, the payers have accepted 50 exported claims. If only 40 of those claims have been received by our payers, we need to be looking at the clearinghouse to see one of two things. Number one, did we have a clearinghouse rejection, meaning something has kicked, it has not allowed that claim to get to your payer. Number two, perhaps the payer has rejected your claim. They have not accepted it for processing. So within your clearinghouse, many of you use TriZetto. Make sure that we're checking those rejections and working those timely and efficiently, getting those resubmitted and accepted by our payers. Timely posting of insurance payments. And obviously, best practice is utilizing the integrated auto posting feature that is through RevClear and TriZetto. That's making things much more efficient and easy to be able to use the auto posting feature versus manually posting all of those remittance advices. We want to try to exclude as much manual labor here as we possibly can. And then robust process to handle your insurance denials timely. So I talked a little bit about insurance rejections. That's handled at the clearinghouse level. Your insurance denials, certainly that is something that is coming back to you not processed or a zero payment through the actual payer remittance advice. So either electronic or manual remittance advice telling you we did not pay your claim. Now, some of those denials we don't have any control over. If we don't have control over because they have been to the patient deductible or something like that, I'm looking more for things that are denying because you don't have the appropriate modifier or your documentation doesn't support that level of service. Those are the ones that are delaying your reimbursement. Worst case scenario, you're not going to be reimbursed at all if we don't handle those denials timely. So really wanting to make sure that we're working those denials as soon as they come in. And then best practice benchmarks. So some of the benchmarks I might recommend for you is to monitor your age payer receivable reports within the RevolutionEHR site. Ensure your claims over 60 days aged do not exceed 15 to 20% of your total insurance AR. When they start to exceed that best practice benchmark, we become concerned that number one, you have delayed reimbursement, or number two, those claims could be candidates for not being reimbursed at all. So really make sure that you have a good matrix in place and that you're checking that report routinely. Monitoring your aged patient receivable balances. These balances are 100% reimbursable at this point. You no longer have a situation where you've got inflation with contractual adjustments. Once that claim has been processed, adjudicated by your payer, and there is a patient due amount, that then is due at 100%. So when we're looking at our aged patient receivable, remember that is due dollar on the dollar. Okay, so it's really important that we keep that as low as possible. Make sure also that you're reviewing your unassigned report and address those items routinely. Your unassigned report is a standard report right in the Revolution site. And those, I kind of call this report the black hole report. These are potentially billable CPT codes that haven't gone anywhere. Okay, they're not linked to a payer, so they are not billing out of your system. So please make sure, if this is not a standard process for best practice within your practice, that you are running that. And I would really recommend that you look at that every week. Okay, and make sure that there's nothing sitting on that unassigned report. You want to be checking your charges waiting report. We don't want to see claims that are sitting out there that have gone longer, than a couple of days outside of your standard billing routine. And we don't want charges to be sitting out for weeks and weeks without you billing them to your carriers. I don't see that typically as much. Normally, the practices I work with have a pretty robust billing schedule, but I would encourage all of you to be billing a minimally, twice a week. And that would probably be for some of my smaller practices. I have much larger practices that I deal with where I recommend, if you are a larger practice, of course, that you are billing every single day. That is going to increase your cash flow and the timeliness of that revenue coming into your office. And then implement routine analytic reporting and monitor it accordingly. This is a really key component of your business. So it's really important that you work with your billing team and that we have matrix in place and that we monitor them accordingly. Okay. The best way to make improvements is to look at what's going on through analytical reporting and how robust we can be to make sure that we don't have eligibility issues. We don't have denials that aren't being worked. We don't have AR going over 60 days. And then finally, auditing your practice. Make sure that you are in tune with what's going on in your practice. We have to audit, we have to meet with our billing teams, on a regular, consistent basis. It's really, really important to the financial health of our practice. And some of the things that you can avoid, these are some common billing mistakes: not appending proper modifiers, missing group ID numbers or valid diagnosis for materials. I see that one frequently. Another big one I see often is people are putting dashes in the ID numbers. Please make sure you are omitting dashes on the insurance ID numbers. Those are not accepted. So if you're putting those in, you're probably seeing rejections at a clearinghouse level because they don't accept that. And then for practices that are utilizing fee schedules, I would tell you, in order for that to be a very cohesive process, you have to make sure you update your fee schedules within the Revolution EHR system. So if you are not going in routinely and updating the fee schedules with your correct allowed amounts, actually we're kind of defeating the purpose here, because what's happening is the claim is billing and it's taking the wrong contractual because you haven't updated it in a few years. So make sure, if you are using fee schedules within Revolution EHR, that you update those routinely with your correct allowed amounts, so that we're sure that the appropriate contractual adjustment is being taken at time of bill. Because if that isn't correct when that EOB comes in and you're auto posting, your contractual is going to be wrong every time, and you have to go in and change it. So that causes a few more steps that we can avoid. And then stay in the know with payer updates and changes. We talked about this a few minutes ago. Super, super important for you to make sure that you're signing up with those websites, that you're reading the communications that are coming back from your payers. So if there are any changes with diagnosis type issues, any changes in modifier appendage, covered services, non-covered services going forward, you're always in the know. I want everybody to be working proactively. We don't want to find out about payer changes 3 months after they went into effect. Now we're having to be reactive to things versus being proactive. And then a comprehensive understanding, certainly, of the Revolution EHR software. Okay, we need to make sure we understand exactly how to use our software when we're staffing billers in our office, billing support people, making sure that they understand how to do appropriate insurance verifications and where to monitor that in your Revolution EHR site, making sure they're unaware or they're aware, I'm sorry, of that unassigned report, and how to find out again about any insurance that hasn't been verified and how to run those reports so that we can make sure we've got all our I's dotted and our T's crossed. And then ensure you have a dedicated billing team that is not wearing too many hats or has too many other responsibilities. This is a slippery slope. I know everybody on this call is probably like, yeah, right. We wear a lot of hats. And that's true. And the clinics that I work with and consult with, I will tell you there are two things that I hear routinely when we identify issues in the practice that have been going on. Number one is you just simply are, you don't have dedicated staff that can handle this. And the team that's trying their very, very best to do it is simply doing too many things in the practice, and they don't have dedicated time to work clearinghouse rejections, making sure bill files are out timely, handling the denials that are coming back, making sure that posting is done immediately. Um, it's really important for you to make sure that the team is just not stretched too thin so that you can get the best results possible. All right, so streamline your billing functionality to ensure patient satisfaction as well, because this is really important. We all, at the end of the day, what do we all want? We want happy patients. We want to grow our practice. We want to be able to have scalable solutions. So monitor your rejections and denial. Utilize that data to improve your internal processes. And I always say implement the Ohio method. This does not mean that you are practicing in the state of Ohio. Okay, let me just clarify. Ohio method means only handle it once. That needs to be the goal. We only want to handle it one time. So if you're seeing a lot of rejections coming out of that clearinghouse for the same thing over and over, we need to look at what we can do upfront systematically to ensure that doesn't continue to happen. Same thing with your denials. If we're seeing a lot of denials related to eligibility, we know that that's an area that we need to focus on. Okay. If we're seeing a lot of denials and or rejections coming back for inappropriate modifiers, inappropriate diagnosis codes, there again, opportunity for us to improve the front end. So again, Ohio does not mean you are operating in the state of Ohio. Only handle it once. Ensure you have a comprehensive patient financial policy and are communicating upfront. We talked about that a little bit ago. Patients want to know what they owe. They don't like surprises when it comes to their money. So when we have that very robust insurance verification, and we know exactly what they're going to owe, or we have a really good, I never say this is what you owe. I always say this is an estimate. We really never know what they owe until the insurance company comes through and fully processes and adjudicates their claim. But you can give them a pretty close estimate of their monies that will be expected from them up front. Making sure we have the right people in the right positions. This is another important one. We just kind of touched on this, but making sure that we're not spreading our staff too thin. And the people that we have doing the billing, the posting, the follow-up, the insurance verification, they understand each and every component of the expectation of the role that they're doing. And they're not handling too many things that is just kind of muddying the water and not making it a clear process of who's responsible or how to do it appropriately. Implement, execute, and monitor your performance routinely. So if you're joining the webinar today and you are out of touch with some of the issues related in your billing department, I would encourage you again to get more involved in your practice. understand exactly what's going on, and look at opportunities to improve those things within your practice. It's going to make all the difference in the world for you. And if your intent is to grow your practice or add new providers, having a very advanced process in your billing department is a key component to achieving those goals. You want a billing team that can scale with you and a billing department that can scale for any of the growth plans that you have for your practice moving forward. It might not be this year, maybe it's even something you're thinking about next year. Okay? And then how can Revolution EHR assist me with my billing needs? So, if you are not aware, Revolution EHR does offer a cost-effective internal billing solution. It is exclusive to our software clients. This is not a third-party billing company. Rev Billing is available for all Revolution EHR platform users. All Rev Billing staff are Revolution EHR software experts and billing experts within the vision and optometry discipline. Again, not a third party. Okay, this is a 100% turnkey solution. So if you are a practice now that is growing, you are a practice that has staff turnover in your billing department. If you are a smaller practice where maybe doc is seeing patients and having to do all of this billing and everything that comes along with this might be a good solution for you to look into. You can obtain a transparent, comprehensive billing performance review, similar to what I talked about in some prior slides, really understanding, getting a baseline pulse for the financial health of your practice. Rev Billing can provide that to you at no cost. It is no obligation and no cost, and it's very transparent. So if you are interested in getting a comprehensive billing performance review, we're going to talk about that here in the next couple of slides. If you're somebody here who is not yet a Revolution EHR customer and you're joining this webinar today, if you could just scan that QR code to learn more. By scanning that, that will give you some more insight and some more information into becoming a Revolution EHR client. Okay. So, last survey question for all of you. And then I'm going to give you a few minutes of your time back today. Um, if you are interested in receiving that complimentary billing performance review, again, it's no obligation, but you want to really get a handle on those reports that I was talking about and how you compare. Do you have a good matrix right now? How do your numbers look? You can simply do that by responding here today. Yes, you would like to take advantage of that, or no, you're not interested in obtaining a complimentary billing performance review at this time. If you are interested in receiving that billing performance review, after you answer this question today, somebody will be in touch with you within the next day or so, and we'll get you scheduled for that. It really seriously only takes you about 15 minutes of your time. So this is, all reward, no risk. The only thing it costs you is about 15 minutes of your time. So thank you all so much for joining. I am going to give you about 5 minutes of your time back today. Appreciate everybody who attended today. Don't be a stranger. If you have questions, please reach out. And I do believe that this webinar will be available for everybody to access. Dan, do we have any questions?
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. Really great. Thanks for your insights and expertise on, what can be a really complex and sometimes frustrating aspect of every optometry practice.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, at this time, I'd like to open up to some questions. If you'd like to ask Kelly something, and we see the poll coming through, and we thank everybody for participation there. If you'd like to ask Kelly a question, please type it into the chat. While we're waiting, we have a few that have come in so far. First question is, how much does Rev Billing cost?
Great question. The answer to that is it really depends on your practice. But I can tell you this, that many times the cost for this Rev Billing integrated solution can be less than, and I know this is really going to throw you guys, but it can be equivalent to less than $6.50 an hour so if you had a FTE or a full-time staff person, this solution for you is less than 650 an hour. So it's very, very, it's a great return on an investment, not only for small offices, mid-size offices, but also I have some very, very large clients who have added this component into their office as a scalable solution. So it's a, I would have to talk to each individual office, but again, this is a great return on investment and much more cost effective normally than you can do internally or by trying to find a billing replacement. Good
That's
question.
great. Thanks, Kelly. We have another question has come in. What percent of total patient AR should be over 60 days?
Patient AR, um, I'm going to give you the same rule of thumb that I would with your payer AR. We don't want to see any patient AR. However, you may have patients who are on payment plans, okay, and they're paying you routinely um, on the patient side, and that's perfectly fine. But if you are seeing patient receivables over 60 days and you don't have payment plans on file, we really don't want to see any patient AR going longer than 60 days. I would keep that as minimal as possible. Remember, on the insurance side, our benchmark is 15 to 20%. For the insurance side. Patient side, different story. We want to be as proactive as we can up front with collecting as much money. And again, you may have AR going over 60 days, and that might be okay as long as folks have a payment arrangement on file and they're sticking with that routinely and you're receiving those monthly payments. Hopefully that answered that.
Yeah, that's great, Kelly. And another question has come in. After sending accounts to outside collections, what is the final step in Rev? Does it stay in collections indefinitely?
It will, I believe it will stay in collections indefinitely until the balance is brought to zero. And it is good for you to note that because should that patient call you to schedule another appointment, we want to make sure that we know that they have an outstanding balance in collections that we can discuss with them prior to them coming in again and absorbing potentially more outstanding receivables with us.
One other question here. Does Rev Billing do insurance verification?
We do not do insurance verification. However, um, there is an insurance verification through RevClear and or your Trizetto site that can be utilized with a click of a button. So although we are not doing it on the billing side, that is something that you would retain in office. If you're looking for more streamlined processes and that, certainly we can work with you on that as well.
Great. And one other question that's come through. I know there's several more here. We want to make sure we end on time today. So I will collect the questions that we
Yes,
did not answer,
please.
pass those on to Kelly, and get you all answers. But for one more question, what kind of information is provided during the billing performance review?
Oh, that's a really good question. Um, it is very, very comprehensive. What would happen is I would be speaking with each of the offices and gathering some quick information. We don't ever access your system without approval from you as well. It's important for you to note that. But the types of things that we're looking for is what are your aged payer receivables right now? Are you meeting that best practice benchmark that I spoke of? Also looking at your patient receivables to see where that is. Then I'm looking at your average charges that are going out. What does your payer mix look like? So, is it VSP? Are you high commercial payers? Are you higher on the VSP, IMED side of the business? Also looking at your average receipts that are coming back on your billed charges. Um, the other thing that we break down, which is really nice, is I'm looking at your overall collections. How much is material or product versus the medical procedures that you're doing? And we're looking at that as well. So, again, really looking at the analytics of your entire office and providing you a really good, healthy finger on the pulse of are there any areas of concern that I see? Are there any holes in the boat? that we need to plug. And then learning a little bit more about your practice and some of your goals that you have to make sure, are you in a position to where you can go forward with the growth or the scale that you're looking for? Or what are some recommendations I might make to you based on the information that I'm looking at? So there's a lot of different data. I also look at that uninvoiced report that I was talking about to make sure that we don't have anything in that black hole that hasn't been built. So great question, super comprehensive.
Thanks so much, Kelly. Appreciate everybody
Bet.
coming in today. Huge thanks to Kelly for being here. At Revolution, we like to bring you a ton of informative webinars on a variety of optometry topics, and so we were thrilled to have you all join us again. So thanks for being here, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.